Max wants to do, here's why Team X will win the national championship, and here's why Team X will lose in the semifinal. So does anyone want to claim a team and stake this out and go first?
I'll take Texas.
So we're each picking a team about why they'd win it all or lose in their semi game?
Yeah, both. Give me the best case, worst case. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's how I read it.
That's fine. Yeah.
All right, let's start. Sam, let's start with you. Let's start with Texas.
All right, Texas wins the national championship because of all the pieces they have, because their defensive line continues to dominate, because of the offensive skill that they have and the execution that they get from head coach on down. I think this Washington matchup is really good for them, and I can absolutely see them winning at the line of scrimmage and thus getting a rematch with Alabama in the title game in Houston, by the way, which is only 2.5 hours away from Austin. About 100,000 Longhorns live in Houston. So if Texas gets to the title game, it's basically going to be a home game, just 2.5 hours away from campus. So if Texas is to lose in the semis, it's because they cannot get enough pressure on Michael Penix and leaving that secondary exposed, and that Penix and that receiver group shreds them down the field.
All right, Max, give us the Washington case.
I think Sam's right about that. I'd also mention red zone offense for Texas. That's been a problem in some of these big ones.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Washington, the case for Washington win a national championship. I think that they've proven twice against Oregon that they can hang with the biggest, toughest, most physical teams on their schedule. They're the best of these four teams at generating 20-plus yard plays. I trust them to get chunk plays against anyone. They're the best of these four at converting third downs. We saw like moments like the Apple Cup, right? The fourth down option call. Like they have the dudes and they have obviously the onions to call the right stuff and convert in clutch moments. And they literally have had to find a way to win 9 straight Pac-12 games, a lot of them close. Like they were all pretty close in terms of final score. So I think those close wins generate some confidence. And they've got the best quarterback. I think we all agree they got the best quarterback, which maybe we should be talking about them as the national champ contender a little bit more out of these four. They're probably the one we probably expect the least. If they were to lose against Texas, I think, 41st in stop rate, 119th in terms of allowing touchdowns in the red zone. I do think you can throw the ball on them. They've given up too many explosives versus the pass. And I think there's just been some offensive lulls this season. Like, I don't know that anyone can explain how they scored 15 points against Arizona State. If some of those kind of hit in some untimely ways, they've certainly are playing teams that have got more talent on paper. So that I could see those being things that concern you a little bit.
Okay, I'll take Alabama. I'll let you take Michigan.
Okay.
Why Alabama would win the national championship? Coaching. I think they have the best coach in the game, in the history of the game, and the adjustments they made throughout the season, the adjustments they made against Georgia to stop blitzing as much and playing some different types of defense, that was what kind of turned that game around for them. So I think with the time to prepare and with a Michigan assistant coach now on your staff right now in George Hilo, Alabama's got the coaching to win the national championship because they've done this before. Why they would lose? They don't hold up in the trenches. The early season concerns about the offensive line happened, and Jalen Milroe's always on the run. Whether it's this, and Michigan's able to wrap up, pressure, contain, and Jalen Milroe can't be explosive as he is. So that's why Alabama can win it all, or they could lose. I think all four of these teams could win the national championship or lose. That's why I like this thought experiment.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of seasons where we would not say that. There have not been a lot of competitive semifinals.
Also, did you guys see USF the other night? Like, that's a quality win for Alabama.
It is.
Well, yeah, didn't
we didn't think so back then.
They won by double digits, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. Jalen Miller didn't play in that one. Okay, so the case for Michigan is that they have figured out how to get over the hump for all of the other things that Michigan wanted to do under Jim Harbaugh. They figured out how to beat Ohio State and then beat them again and then beat them again with an interim head coach. They have been incredibly resilient with all of the off the field issues, multiple NCAA investigations, and again, the different in and out of who's coaching, who's in charge on Saturdays. They have responded to all of that incredibly well. JJ McCarthy is experienced. He knows how to make good decisions. He hasn't shown it all the time, but he can throw a really nice deep ball. He can put some zip on the ball. Yes, he can, Max. He can. We just haven't seen it very much. Come
Let
on.
me this
It's
time.
there. And he should be healthier. So you should have a little bit of a threat on the ground. Donovan Edwards is, I think, an X factor in the pass game. I think that he finally has a number one wide receiver in Roman Wilson. That's something that's been missing the last couple years. And Michigan uses the tight ends well. The defense will have to be as good as advertised, right? We've talked about this. It hasn't shown up against the best teams in the CFP when they played in these semifinals, and didn't show up against Georgia, TCU last year. So all those things need to go right. They need to actually prepare and focus and play well after a layoff. But if they do all of that, I think that they could certainly beat another really good team. They had all their most challenging opponents on the back end of the schedule, figured out ways to beat them, different styles of play, different games, and they can do that again. Alabama, I think for Michigan, if they get over the hump of this game, would be able to win it all, because I think this is the stage that has tripped them up. I think they could certainly lose for all the reasons they've lost the last couple of years. JJ McCarthy makes mistakes, bad decisions. Maybe the run game doesn't show up like we saw it in a couple of those games down the stretch where it really couldn't get anything going, no explosiveness, really can't get chunk yardage, scoring plays. You're going to be up against an offense that will have explosives. You're going to have to keep pace. You're going to have to stay in the game. And then what if that, the offensive line and some of the areas we say maybe they're not as good as the last couple years, just really aren't, and they're not able to control the game at the line of scrimmage. So I could see them losing to Alabama that way. And again, like you guys said, if the game comes down to quarterback play, people are probably going to go with Jalen Milroe there, and the way that we've seen him develop as the season's gone on and the chemistry he's built with different receivers, different points in the season. So I agree with you guys. I think that we can make a case easily for all four, make a case for them all to lose for all four. There's a lot of strength on strength. There's also a lot of here's my questionable area against your questionable area, and we'll have to see how these things go.